How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, July 19th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Sunday, July 18th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Starting off with the NBA, Game 5 of the NBA Finals will be tomorrow in Milwaukee as the Eastern Conference champs Milwaukee Bucks will host the Western Conference champs Phoenix Suns. I'll get more into it tomorrow. And then jumping into the MLB to the games that actually happened yesterday, starting off in Pittsburgh, the Pirates would host the Mets. The Pirates would score the first 6 runs of the game in the first inning, and then the Mets would come from behind and eventually take the lead in the ninth thanks to a 2-run home run from Michael Conforto to beat the Pirates 7-6. For the Pirates in this matchup, the start went to JT Brubaker. JT Brubaker would allow 4 earned runs in 3.2 innings pitched as he struck out 5. The loss went to the Pirates' closer for the day, Rich Rodriguez. He would go on to allow 2 earned runs in 1 inning pitch as he struck out a batter. That was his third blown save of the year, and he is now 4-2 on the season. In their batting lineup, their third baseman on the day, Wilmer Difo, would end up going 2 for 5 with a run. Their left fielder, Ben Gamel, would go 2 for 3 with a run for himself as well. And then their shortstop for the day, Kevin Newman, would go 2 for 4. For the New York Mets, the start went to Taijuan Walker. He allowed 6 runs in .1 inning pitched. The win, however, would end up going to their relief pitcher, Juris Familia. Familia would end up allowing no earned runs in 2 innings pitched, striking out a batter. With this win, Familia is 5-1. The save for the Mets, however, would end up going to Trevor May. May allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitch as he struck out a batter. That was his second save of the year. In their batting lineup, their elite first baseman, Pete Alonso, would go 2 for 5. And then their left fielder, Dominic Smith, would go 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run for himself. And then last but not least, their catcher, Tomas Nido, would end up going 2 for 5 with a run. With this win, the New York Mets are now 48-42. That is the best record in the National League East as they've won 5 of their last 10 games. They sit 2 games ahead of the second place Philadelphia Phillies as they are holding on to the 3rd seed in the National League at the moment. With this loss, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 36-57. That is the worst record in the National League Central as they've lost 4 of their last 10 games. They now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 19 games in the division as they hold the 2nd worst record in the National League. Jumping out to our nation's capital, the Washington Nationals hosted the San Diego Padres, and the Padres would end up beating the Nationals 10-4 on the road. For the Nats, the start and the loss went to Patrick Corbin. He allowed 6 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this loss, he's 6-8 on the year. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Alcides Escobar, would go 2 for 5. And then their left fielder on the day, Josh Harrison, would end up going 3 for 4 with an RBI. For the San Diego Padres, the start went to their elite starting pitcher, Blake Snell, who allowed 4 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 3. The win went to their first relief pitcher, Craig Stammen, who allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched. With this win, he's now 4-2 on the season. In their batting lineup, their left fielder, Tommy Pham, would go 3 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their elite shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr., would go 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Their all-star first baseman, Jake Cronenworth, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Their elite third baseman, Manny Machado, would go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run for himself. Their second baseman, Ha-Seong Kim, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs on the day. And then their catcher, Webster Rivas, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 runs on the day. And jumping out to the second matchup of this doubleheader, the Nationals would end up beating the Padres in Game 2, 8-7, thanks to a walk-off single from Alcides Escobar. In Game 2 of this matchup, the start for San Diego went to Joe Musgrove. Musgrove allowed 4 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 3 on the day. The loss for San Diego went to their closer, Mark Melancon. He allowed 1 earned run in .1 inning pitched as he struck out a batter. With this loss, he's 2-2 on the season. In their batting lineup, their elite third baseman, Manny Machado, would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Machado hit his 16th home run of the year last night. He was the only player on the Padres with more than 1 hit. Looking out to how the Nationals fared in Game 2, the start went to their go-to starting pitcher, Max Scherzer. He allowed 4 earned runs in 7 innings pitched, as he would go on to strike out 8 batters on the day. The win went to their closer, Brad Hand, who allowed 1 earned run in 1 inning pitched, as he struck out 3. He would pick up his third blown save of the year, and with this win, he's 5-2 on the season. In the Nats batting lineup in Game 2, their second baseman, Alcides Escobar, would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would go on to hit his first home run of the season yesterday. Their elite right fielder, Juan Soto, would go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 14th home run of the year. Their first baseman, Josh Bell, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI. Their third baseman, Josh Harrison, would go 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run for himself. And then their catcher in Game 2, Tres Barrera would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. With the split doubleheader, the Washington Nationals are now 43-49. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. They've won 3 of their last 10 games as they now trail the New York Mets by 6 whole games in the division to give a sense of where they sit. And with this split series matchup, the San Diego Padres are now 55-41. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West as they've lost 5 of their last 10 games. They now trail the San Francisco Giants by 5 games in the division, and they are currently holding on to the 2nd National League wildcard spot as they sit 4 games behind the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are sitting in that first place, and they're 5.5 games ahead of the Cincinnati Reds, who are the first team on the outside of the wildcard picture looking in. Jumping out to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Phillies will go on to host the Miami Marlins. And, of course, in this particular matchup, the Phillies would end up beating the Miami Marlins 4-2 in extra innings. In the 10th inning, it would end up being a 2-run home run from JT Realmuto that would seal the Marlins' fate. And, of course, this would be the second time he would inflict major damage against his former club, against his former team. For the Miami Marlins, the start went to Zach Thompson. He allowed 2 runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 2. The loss went to their closer, Yimi Garcia. He allowed 2 runs in 0.1 inning pitched, and with this loss, he's 3-7 on the year. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their center fielder, Starling Marte, who went 2 for 4 with a run. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the start went to Vince Velasquez, who allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 4. The win went to the Philadelphia Phillies closer, Jose Alvarado. He allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out a batter. With this win, Alvarado was 6-0 on the year. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their all-star catcher, JT Realmuto, would go 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. With this win, the Philadelphia Phillies would go on into the second game of this doubleheader and beat the Miami Marlins 7-4. For the Marlins in Game 2, the start was given to Braxton Garrett. Garrett allowed 3 runs in 4.1 innings pitched as he struck out 2. The loss went to the Miami Marlins second relief pitcher, Anthony Bender. He allowed 2 earned runs in 1 inning pitched, and with this loss, he's 1-1 on the year. In their batting lineup, their center fielder, Starling Marte, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their right fielder, Adam Duvall, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 20th home run of the season. For the Philadelphia Phillies in the second matchup, the start and the win went to Zach Wheeler. He allowed 4 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 7. With this win, he's now 7-5 on the season. And then the save would end up being given to the Phillies closer for the day, Hector Neris. Neris would allow no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 2. With this save, he now has 12 on the year. In their batting lineup, their all-star catcher, JT Realmuto, would go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs on the day. And then their pinch-hitting outfielder, Travis Jankowski, would end up going 2 for 2 with 2 runs. With both of these wins yesterday, the Philadelphia Phillies are now 47-45. That is the second best record in the National League East as they have now won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. They now trail the New York Mets by 2 games in the division at the moment, and with these 2 losses, the Miami Marlins are now 40-53. That is the worst record in the National League East and the 3rd worst record in the National League. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They now trail the New York Mets by 9.5 games in the division at the moment. Jumping out to Toronto or Buffalo. The Toronto Blue Jays hosted the Texas Rangers and were able to pull off a 5-0 win in the first game. For the Texas Rangers in Game 1, the start and the loss went to Colby Allard. He allowed 5 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out a batter. With this loss, he's now 2-7 on the year. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit as the Blue Jays held the entire team to 3 hits in this game. The start and the win for Toronto will go to their elite starting pitcher Hyunjin Ryu. He would allow no earned runs and only 3 hits as he pitched all 7 of the innings. He picked up 4 strikeouts as well. With this win, Hyunjin Ryu is 9-5 on the year. In their batting lineup, their left fielder Lourdes Gurriel Jr. would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. And then their third baseman, Santiago Espinal, would end up going 2 for 3 with a run for himself. Following this, they would end up beating the Rangers 10-0 in the second game of this doubleheader as they scored all 10 of their runs in the first 2 innings. For the Rangers in Game 2, the start and the loss went to Mike Foltynewicz. He allowed 10 earned runs in 1.2 innings pitched. Those were all 10 of the runs allowed, by the way. With this loss, Foltynewicz is 2-9 on the year. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit as the Blue Jays held the Rangers to no runs and 3 hits for both games, actually. The start and the win for Toronto in Game 2 would go to Steven Matz. Matz would allow no earned runs and only 3 hits in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 2. With this win, he's now 8-4 on the season. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their center fielder, George Springer, would end up going 2 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs. Springer hit his 6th home run of the year. Their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., would go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 31st home run of the year. Their right fielder, Randal Grichuk, would end up going 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. And with this win, or with these wins, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 48-42. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East. They've won 4 of their last 10 games as they now have won 6 of their last 10. They now trail the Boston Red Sox by 6 games in the division, and they are now trailing the Oakland Athletics by 2.5 games for the 2nd American League wildcard spot, as the Blue Jays, alongside the Mariners, are the first team on the outside looking in. With these losses, the Texas Rangers are now 35-58. That is the worst record in the American League West, and that is the 2nd worst record in the American League. They've lost their last 5 games, which is the worst streak in the American League, and I think the worst in the They have the worst losing streak in baseball right now. They've lost 8 of their last 10, and they now trail the Houston Astros by 20.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Detroit, the Detroit Tigers hosted the Minnesota Twins. The Tigers were able to pull off a 7-0 home win, as this was one of the games that was not a doubleheader for the as the Tigers completely shut out the Twins. For the Twins in this matchup, the start and the loss went to J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ allowed 7 earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this loss, he's now 5-5 on the year. In their batting lineup, their left fielder, Luis Arias, will go 2 for 4. Their right fielder, Trevor Larnach, will go 2 for 4 on the day as well. For the Detroit Tigers, the start and the win went to Willie Peralta. He allowed no earned runs and only 4 hits in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this win, he's now 3-1 on the season. In their batting lineup, their left fielder, Akil Baddoo, will go 2 for 4 with a run. Their first baseman, Jonathan Schoop, will go 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 17th home run of the year. Their third baseman, Jeimer Candelaria, will go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 6th home run of the year. And then their center fielder, Derek Hill, would end up going 2 for 4 with a run. With this win, the Detroit Tigers are now 43-51. That is the 3rd best record in the American League Central, as they've won their last 3 games. They've won 5 of their last 10, and at the moment they trail the Chicago White Sox by 14 games in the division. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 39-53. That is the 4th best record in the American League Central, as they've lost their last 3 games and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They now trail the Chicago White Sox by 17 games in the division. Jumping out to Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Reds hosted the Milwaukee Brewers for a matchup between the division's top 2 teams. And in this matchup, the Brewers would shut out the Reds, winning this one 8-0. For the Cincinnati Reds in this matchup, the start and the loss went to Sonny Gray. Gray allowed 5 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 6. With this loss, he's 2-5 on the year. In the Reds batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than one hit, so that could be attributed to great pitching from Milwaukee. For Milwaukee, the start in the win went to their all-star starting pitcher, Corbin Burnes. He allowed no earned runs and only 5 hits in 8.1 innings pitched as he struck out 12. With this win, he's now 5-4 on the year. In their batting lineup, their third baseman, Luis Urias, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their elite left fielder and former National League MVP, Christian Yelich, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Yelich hit his 6th home run of the season yesterday. Their shortstop, Willy Adames, would go 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, alongside 3 walks, as he hit his 16th home run of the season yesterday. Their right fielder, Tyrone Taylor, would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. And then their center fielder, Jackie Bradley Jr., would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are now 56-39. That is the best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 3 games and 5 of their last 10. They now sit 7 games ahead of the second-place Cincinnati Reds in their own division, and they are currently holding on to the 2 seed in the National League playoff picture. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are now 48-45. That is the second best record in the National League Central. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 7 games in the division, and they now trail the San Diego Padres by 5.5 games in the wild card picture, as the Reds are the first team on the outside of the picture looking in. Jumping to Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves hosted the reigning American League champs, Tampa Bay Rays, and the Rays would end up beating the Braves 7-5 after scoring all 7 of their runs between the 5th and 7th inning. For the Atlanta Braves, the start went to Drew Smyly. He allowed 3 earned runs in 5.2 innings pitched as he struck out 6. The loss would go to their second relief pitcher, A.J. Minter. He allowed 2 earned runs in 0.1 inning pitched. This would be his 6th blown save of the season, and with this loss, A.J. Minter is 1-4 on the year. In their batting lineup, their right fielder, Jock Peterson, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Their elite second baseman, Ozzie Albies, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI. Their third baseman, Austin Riley, would go 2 for 4. Their catcher, Stephen Vogt, would go 3 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. And then their center fielder, Guillermo Heredia, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. For the Tampa Bay Rays, the start went to Rich Hill. Hill allowed 3 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 4. The win went to the Rays' second relief pitcher, Jeffrey Springs. He would go on to allow no earned runs in 0.2 innings pitched. With this win, he's now 5-1 on the year. The save for Tampa Bay would end up going to Pete Fairbanks. Fairbanks allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 2, picking up his 5th save of the year. In their batting lineup, the only player on the team with more than 1 hit was their left fielder, Brandon Lau, who went 2 for 4 with a run. And then also their young elite shortstop, Wander Franco, would go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd career home run. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 55-38. That is the second best record in the American League East. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. They now trail the Boston Red Sox by half a game in the division, as they are now holding on to the top American League wildcard spot. They now sit 3 games ahead of the second place Oakland Athletics. With this loss, the Atlanta Braves are now 45-47. That is the 3rd best record in the National League East, as they've lost 5 of their last 10 games. They now trail the New York Mets by 4 games in the division. Jumping out to Kansas City, the Kansas City Royals hosted the Baltimore Orioles, and the Orioles were able to pull off a 5-0 win in Kansas City. For the Royals in this matchup, the start and the loss would end up going to Carlos Hernandez. Hernandez allowed 2 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 6. With this loss, he's now 1-1 on the year. In their batting lineup, the only player that had more than 1 hit was the Royals' third baseman, Hunter Dozier. He went 4 for 4 on the day as he had 2 doubles and 2 singles, but nonetheless, they couldn't score. For the Baltimore Orioles, however, the start and the win went to Matt Harvey. He allowed no earned runs and only 3 hits in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 2. In their batting lineup, their right fielder, Austin Hayes, would go 2 for 5 with 2 runs. Their shortstop, Ramon Urias, would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs for himself. With this win, the Baltimore Orioles are now 30-62. That is the worst record in the American League East and the worst record in the American League. They have now won their last 2 games, and they've won 3 of their last 10. They now trail the Boston Red Sox by 25 games in the division. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are now 37-55. That is the worst record in the American League Central. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They also have the 3rd worst record in the American League. Right now, they trail the Chicago White Sox by 19 games in their division. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago White Sox hosted the Houston Astros as these two division leaders went at it. The White Sox would shut the Astros out, only allowing one hit all game. For the Houston Astros, the start and the loss went to Framber Valdez. He allowed 4 earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this loss, he's now 5-2 on the season. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than one hit. The only player that had the only hit went to Abraham Toro. For the Chicago White Sox, the start and the win went to Carlos Rodon. Rodon allowed no earned runs and only one hit in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 10. With this win, he's now 8-3 on the season. In their batting lineup, their right fielder, Nick Engel, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI. He was the only player on the team with more than one hit. Their elite shortstop, Tim Anderson, would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 8th home run of the year. With this win, the Chicago White Sox are now 56-36. That is the best record in the American League Central as they've won their last 2 games. They've won 7 of their last 10. They now sit 8 games ahead of the Cleveland Indians in their division as they are now holding on to the best record in the American League win percentage-wise. They have the same amount of wins as Boston and Houston, but they have 2 less losses than both of them. With this loss, the Houston Astros are now 56-38. That is the best record in the American League West as they have now lost their last 2 games and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They sit 3.5 games ahead of the second-place Oakland A's in their division, and they are tied with the Boston Red Sox for the second-best record in the entire American League. Jumping out to St. Louis, the St. Louis Cardinals hosted the San Francisco Giants. The Cardinals were able to pull off a 2-1 home win as they were able to break their tie in the 7th inning thanks to a Harrison Bader single. For the San Francisco Giants in this matchup, the start would end up going to Johnny Cueto. He allowed 1 earned run in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 5. The loss for San Francisco would go to their second relief pitcher, John Brebbia. Brebbia will go on to allow 1 earned run in 1 inning pitched as he struck out a batter. With this loss, he's 0-1. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Donovan Solano, will go 2 for 5, and their right fielder, Mike Yastrzemski, will go 2 for 4. For the St. Louis Cardinals, the start went to Wade LeBlanc. LeBlanc allowed 1 earned run in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 3. The win will go to their second relief pitcher, Genesis Cabrera, as he allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 2. The save went to Alex Reyes as he allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched. He picked up his 22nd save of the year. Nobody on the Cardinals would finish with more than 1 hit, as their shortstop Paul DeJong went 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 13th home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 46-47. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 2 games and 5 of their last 10. They now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 9 games in the division alongside the Chicago Cubs. Actually, the Cardinals and the Cubs are both tied for the 3rd best record in the NL Central, so scratch what I said earlier. With this loss, the San Francisco Giants are now 58-34. That is the best record in the National League West. That is the best record in the National League, and that is currently the best record in all of baseball. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 4 of their last 10, but they still sit a game ahead of the second-place defending champs LA Dodgers in the division, and they are currently holding on to the number 1 seed in the National League. Jumping out to Denver, the site of the 2021 All-Star Game. The Colorado Rockies would host the defending champs LA Dodgers and pull off a 6-5 win in extra innings, thanks to a walk-off solo home run from their elite outfielder Charlie Blackmon. For the Los Angeles Dodgers in this matchup, the start went to former Cy Young winner David Price. He allowed 1 earned run in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 4. The loss would end up going to the Dodgers closer, Phil Bickford. He allowed 2 runs in .2 innings pitched. He would pick up his second blown save of the year, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In their batting lineup, their third baseman, Justin Turner, went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 16th home run of the year. Their catcher, Will Smith, went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 11th home run of the year. And then their left fielder, A.J. Pollock, will go 2 for 4. For the Colorado Rockies, the start went to John Gray. He allowed 2 earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 7. The win for the Colorado Rockies went to their closer, Michael Givens. He allowed 1 run in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, he's now 3-2 on the year. In their batting lineup, their elite right fielder Charlie Blackmon will go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. He hit his 5th home run of the season. That was the walk-off home run. And their third baseman Ryan McMahon will go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Last but not least for Colorado, their left fielder Chris Owings would end up going 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. With this win, the Colorado Rockies are now 41-53. That is the 4th best record in the National League West. They've won 5 of their last 10 games, and they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 8 games in the division. With this loss, the Los Angeles Dodgers are now 58-36. That is the 2nd best record in the NL West. They have the same amount of wins as the Giants, but they have 2 more losses. Where they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 1 game in the division, and they are currently holding on to the top wild card spot in the National League as they now sit 4 games ahead of the 2nd place San Diego Padres. Jumping out to Oakland, the Oakland Athletics hosted the Cleveland Indians, and in this matchup, the Indians would beat the Athletics 4-2 to pick up their 47th win of the year. For the Athletics, the start and the loss would end up being given to Chris Bassitt. He allowed 3 earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 8. With this loss, he's 10-3 on the year. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit as Seth Brown hit his 11th home run of the year. For the Cleveland Indians, the start and the win went to Zach Plesac. He allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, he's now 5-3 on the season, and the save was given to the Indians closer, Bryan Shaw. He allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out a batter. That was his 2nd save of the year. In their batting lineup, their center fielder, Bradley Zimmer, will go 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run. He hit his 2nd home run of the year. Their shortstop, Ahmed Rosario, will go 2 for 5. And then their right fielder, Daniel Johnson, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 1st home run of the season, and with this win, the Cleveland Indians are now 47-43. That is the 2nd best record of the American League Central as they've won their last 2 games and 5 of their last 10. They now trail the Chicago White Sox by 8 games in the division, and at the moment, they are currently trailing the Oakland Athletics by 3.5 games in the wild card alongside the New York Yankees. With this loss, the Oakland Athletics are now 53-42. That is the 2nd best record in the American League West. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They now trail the Houston Astros by 3.5 games in the division as they are holding on to the 2nd seed in the American League wildcard at the moment. They trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 3 games for the 1st spot, and they sit 2.5 games ahead of the Toronto, now Buffalo Blue Jays, and the Seattle Mariners, who are the first 2 teams on the outside looking in. Jumping out to Anaheim, the LA Angels hosted the Seattle Mariners, and in this matchup, the Mariners would end up beating the Angels 7-4 to pick up their 50th win of the year. For the Angels, the start and the loss went to Patrick Sandoval. Sandoval allowed 6 runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 9. With this loss, Sandoval is 2-4 on the year. In their batting lineup, their all-star designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 34th home run of the year. And then their shortstop, Jose Iglesias, would go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. For the Seattle Mariners, the start and the win went to Logan Gilbert. He allowed 2 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 9. With this win, he's now 4-2 on the year. In their batting lineup, their first baseman, Ty France, would go 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 9th home run of the year. And with this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 50-44. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West. They have now won 6 of their last 10 games. They trail the Houston Astros by 6 games in the division. And at the moment, they currently trail the Oakland Athletics by 2.5 games outside of the AL wildcard picture, as they and the Toronto Blue Jays are the first team on the outside looking in. With this loss, the Los Angeles Angels are now 46-46. That is the 4th best record in the American League West. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games as they now trail the Houston Astros by 9 games in the division. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the holders of the league's worst record, were able to host and defeat the Chicago Cubs 6-4 yesterday. For the Cubs, the start went to Zach Davies. He allowed 2 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 3. The loss for the Cubs would go to their closer for the day, Dan Winkler, or their penultimate relief pitcher, Dan Winkler. He allowed 2 earned runs in .2 innings pitched. With this loss, he's 1-2 on the year. with this law, or in their batting lineup, for the Chicago Cubs. Their elite left fielder, Chris Bryant, would end up going 2-for-4 with an RBI and 2 runs. The only other player with more than one hit on the team was their elite shortstop, Javier Baez. Baez went 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, the start and the win went to Merrill Kelly. He allowed 4 earned runs in 8 innings pitched as he struck out 6. With this win, he's 6-7 on the year, and the save went to Joakim Soria, who allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 2. That was his 4th save of the year. In their batting lineup, their first baseman, Christian Walker, would go 2-for-4 with a run, and then their shortstop, Nico Ahmed, would go 2-for-4 with an RBI for himself. With this win, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 27-68. That is the worst record in the National League West, the worst record in the National League, and the worst record in the majors, as they are the only team who still has yet to win 30 games this season. They've now won 4 of their last 10, as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 32.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are now 46-47. They are now tied with the St. Louis Cardinals for the 3rd best record in the National League Central. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games, as they now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 9 games in the division. Last but not least, jumping out to the Bronx, the New York Yankees hosted their division and longtime arch rival, arch nemesis, the Boston Red Sox. And in this matchup, the Yankees would beat the Red Sox 9-1 at home. For the Red Sox in this matchup, the start and the loss went to Martin Perez. Perez would go on to allow 3 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 5. With this loss, he's now 7-6 on the season. In their batting lineup, their shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, would go 2-for-3 as he was the only player on the team with more than 1 hit. For the New York Yankees, the start and the win went to Jameson Taillon, who allowed no earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, Taillon is 5-4 on the year. In the Yankees batting lineup, their second baseman, Rougned Odor, would go 2-for-3 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. Their elite shortstop, Gleyber Torres, would go 1-for-2 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 5th home run of the season. And then their left fielder, Ryan Lamar, would end up going 2-for-3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 1st home run of the year. With this win, the New York Yankees are now 48-44. That is the 4th best record in the American League East. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. They now trail the Boston Red Sox by 7 games in their own division, and they currently trail the Oakland Athletics by 3.5 games for the American League wildcard spot, as they sit even with the Cleveland Indians in that regard. With this loss, the Boston Red Sox are now 56-38. That is still the best record in the American League East. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They still sit half a game ahead of the 2nd place Tampa Bay Rays, as they are now tied with the Houston Astros for the 2nd best record in the American League. But right now, that is what the MLB is looking like, as of course we navigate into today. And of course, going off on the note with soccer is that the CONCACAF, which is the North American Gold Cup, is taking place right now, but it's group stage matches. Once they get to the knockout round, I'm going to start covering that tournament. But once again, I want to thank the NBA, MLB, ESPN, and FIFA websites for giving me the facts and figures that I needed to do this episode. And of course, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 33 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are completed, I will come back tomorrow for Tuesday, July 20th for another episode of The Elite. But until then, I want to thank everyone once again. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.